Hey guys, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor and I share these What's for Dinner videos every week. So if you like those kinds of things, I hope that you will subscribe down below so you can come back and see my future videos. This week I have quite a few delicious meals to share with you, so let's go ahead and get into it. On Friday night, I made a recipe for my friend Amanda over at Mom's Messy Kitchen. I've made this a couple times before. It's called Cajun chicken pasta, and it is delicious. So I'm starting off by seasoning up some chicken that I cut up. You don't have to cut up your chicken. I think in her recipe video, she leaves the chicken like whole, and I will have her video linked down below for you guys. So I'm seasoning my chicken with some Cajun seasoning, some garlic powder, and some Italian seasoning, and then I'm going to cook that in my cast iron skillet with some olive oil. While the chicken was cooking, I brought a big pot of salted water to a boil to cook 1 pound of noodles. Usually I do like penne pasta, but this time I did bow tie. When the chicken was cooked through, I removed it from the pan. Next, I added in some butter and began to scrape the bits from the pan. Usually I do this in a non-stick pan and it's a little bit easier to get the bits like scraped up, but it was a little bit more difficult in my cast iron, but I got it worked out. So I started scraping up the bits and then I added in my tomatoes, and then I decided that the bits weren't coming up enough, so I added in a little bit of pasta water, and that really helped get those bits from the chicken scraped up from the pan, and that really helps flavor the sauce. And then I just let the tomatoes cook for a few minutes so they could get browned. When I thought the tomatoes were browned enough, I added in a jar of Alfredo sauce, and then I rinsed that jar with a little bit of water, and then I just brought that to a simmer over like a medium heat and let it simmer for a few minutes. After letting it simmer for a few minutes, the tomatoes got nice and soft and I was able to easily smash them with the back of my spatula. And then I'm going to go in and add some pepper and some Parmesan cheese. If you have grated Parmesan cheese or shredded Parmesan cheese, that would probably be best. But you know, the shaky stuff in the jar works just as well and it tastes just as good. Well, maybe not just as good, but it tastes good. So that's what I had, so that's what I used. I simmered the sauce for about another 5 minutes, stirring often to make sure that cheese got nice and melted, and then I mixed in my cooked noodles and my cooked chicken, and then this was ready to serve. We always like to do broccoli with this, so I air fried some broccoli and that's what we had with it. Okay, it is Saturday, and tonight for dinner I made tuna patties, green beans, and mac and cheese. I have a video, it's a really old video, of me making the tuna patties, so I will have that linked down below. In that video I make them in the frying pan, which is what I did tonight, but I've also made them recently in the air fryer. So either way is really good. And then this is our favorite mac and cheese recipe that I make in the Instant Pot, and just a can of green beans. Super simple dinner for tonight. Yeah, that's gonna be dinner. It is Sunday night, and tonight for dinner I made spaghetti. So we've all got sauce and noodles and garlic bread, and this bread was actually a take and bake bread from Aldi, and I just put the Chef Shammy's butter on it, but I already put it back in the fridge. So I melted that, put it on there, and then baked it in the oven for about 10 minutes on 375. And I did make my own homemade sauce today. We've got a ton of it left. I doubled the recipe this time, so I'll have the ingredients for that listed out down below, as well as the video where I made it. And then I made some ground beef and took some of the sauce and mixed that together. So we've got some for leftovers, but I'm gonna let this sauce cool, and then all of that will go in some glass jars in the freezer. So I will have that on hand for next time, and that is going to be dinner for Sunday. It is Monday night, and tonight for dinner we are making a new recipe. This is called Parmesan Ranch chicken tenders. They're going to be baked in the oven. So I've got about 2 pounds of chicken tenders over here. I removed the tendons. I've shared how I did that in the past in a What's for Dinner video, but I also just showed it in my day in the life video that I'm recording today. It went up on Wednesday, so if you missed that and you want to see how I removed the tendon, check that video out. So I've got that. In here I've got 1 stick of melted butter, or half a cup, and then I've got some grated Parmesan cheese. We're going to need about 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, about 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning, or you could just use a ranch dressing packet. So that, and then some parsley, and I don't remember how much parsley I need. I need 2 tablespoons of dried parsley. So I've got my melted butter back there, as I said. I'm going to mix the Parmesan, the parsley, and the ranch together in this pie plate. And then I will take each chicken strip, dip it in the butter, coat it with the mixture, and then put it on my foil-lined baking sheet. And then these are going to bake in the oven on 350 for, it says 23 to 35 minutes. And it doesn't say to flip them halfway, but it does say to broil them for about 3 minutes at the end. And it says to make sure that the chicken strips are 1/2 inch apart, so that you don't want them touching on your baking sheet. Okay, here's the finished dinner. We've got our Parmesan chicken tenders, Parmesan ranch chicken tenders, and then I made some crispy crowns, tater tots, whatever you want to call them, in the air fryer. Takes like 15 minutes. And yeah, then we got some veggies. Andy's got some tomatoes. Elijah has cucumbers. Lily has tomatoes. And I have cucumbers. And that is going to be dinner for Monday. Okay, it is Tuesday and I am winging it tonight. I was going to make this like creamy beef and noodle thing on the stove, but it had to cook for like an hour and a half on the stove, and I didn't feel like doing that because my meat was not thawed out this morning. So instead I'm making something in the Instant Pot. So here I have probably about 2 pounds of beef stew meat, and I cut it into smaller like bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to toss it in some flour and some salt and pepper, and we're going to cook this in the Instant Pot. Okay, I've got my Instant Pot on saute. It's getting hot. I'm going to add in some olive oil. And then I'm also going to add in some dried minced onion. I just don't feel like cutting onion up tonight. So I'm just going to add in some of this. Yeah, that's probably good. And then I'm also going to add in some minced garlic. You could do fresh garlic, but I like this because it's easy. That's probably good. And then once this gets hot, it'll only take probably about another minute. I'm going to add in that beef and just let it get browned on all sides. It'll only take a couple minutes. Okay, I think that's pretty much browned enough. I'm going to add in 2 cups of beef broth. I used this Tones beef base. I get it at Sam's Club. I mixed 2 teaspoons of that with some hot water that I heated up in my kettle. So I'm going to add that in. I was looking at other recipes on Pinterest that were similar to this, and they all did mushrooms, which if you know, we don't like mushrooms. Like if you've been here, you know, we don't like that. So I omitted that. I also didn't want to cook the noodles in here with this. I feel like I feel like it will be better to cook the meat longer and cook the noodles on the side, because all the recipes had you cook the noodles in it, and then it didn't cook as long because you can't cook the noodles for too long, obviously. But I feel like it'll be better if I can cook the meat longer. It'll get more tender and be better. So that's what I'm going to do. So I got my beef broth in there. Now I've got some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of that. And then I'm going to add in some more salt and pepper. Just a little bit more salt and a lot more pepper because we like pepper. Give that a good stir, and then I'm going to put the lid on this and cook it on manual high pressure for 15 minutes and let it do a natural release for probably about 10 minutes. And while this is cooking, I'm going to boil this bag of egg noodles. I'm going to do the whole thing, and then I've got some sour cream that will mix into this when it is done to make it creamy. And yeah, I think it's going to be good. Okay, here's what it's looking like. It looks a little thin, but I'm gonna go ahead and stir in my sour cream. I have probably about half of this, so about a cup of sour cream. I'm gonna stir that in and see what it looks like. It'll probably help thicken it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna stir in my noodles. I also turned it back on saute so that can help. Okay, it's starting to thicken just a little bit. I've still got it on saute. And before I put in the noodles, I am going to add in a little bit of cornstarch. I have mixed together about a teaspoon of cornstarch with about a tablespoon of cold water. So I'm going to pour that in, and hopefully it helps it thicken a little bit. And then I will add in the noodles once it has thickened. While I was waiting for it to thicken, I went ahead and stole a piece of beef out, and it's so good. It's tender, yet still like holds its form. It's not like fall apart tender, but it's like melt in your mouth tender. So it's very, very good, and it tastes delicious. So I know that this with the noodles is going to be awesome. Here is it all plated up. I already tried it and it's delicious. To go with it, I just made a can of peas. This is pretty similar to stroganoff. So I made a can of peas and I just seasoned that with some salt, pepper, butter, and garlic powder. And here are the kids' plates. And this made a ton, so there will be a ton of leftovers for lunch. It is Wednesday and today has been a day. I was struggling with changing internet providers. I didn't want to change, but I had Comcast and I was dealing with them like all day, and in the end we decided to switch providers. So dealing with that for multiple hours earlier today. I've had a headache all day from that. So we're doing something quick and easy tonight. I had on the meal plan pizza, but instead of regular pizza, we're doing little Naan pizzas. I had these in the freezer from like the beginning of November. I picked them up on markdown and I froze them. So I've got 6 on here. I'm just making some for me and the kids right now, and then I'll make more for Andy when he gets home. Preheating the oven to 375. I'm going to pop them in there for like 2 to 3 minutes with nothing on them, and then I will top them with some marinara sauce, pepperoni, and mozzarella cheese. And that will be our quick and easy dinner for Wednesday. For this last meal of the week for Thursday night, this is something super easy and it's something that we love. You start off by adding 2 chicken breasts to the crock pot. If you have more people in your family or you want more leftovers, I would suggest doubling this. But you just put 2 chicken breasts in the crock pot and cover it with 1 28-ounce can of your preferred enchilada sauce. And then you're just going to let that cook either all day for like 8 hours on low or on high for 4 hours. The only other things you are going to need for this recipe are some tortillas and some cheese. So right here I am taking I think it was like a 23-ounce package of corn tortillas, and I'm only going to use about half of it, and I'm going to cut them into strips. You could also use flour for this, but we just prefer the corn tortillas in it. So I am just cutting these up into strips to get it ready to go in the crock pot. Next, I took 2 forks and I shredded up all that chicken in the crock pot. Once the chicken was all shredded, I stirred in those tortillas that I had cut up. And then once that was all stirred in, I stirred in about a cup of cheese, maybe a little bit more because we really like cheese. And at this point, you could add in any optional ingredients. The original recipe, I believe, had olives stirred into it, but I'm the only one in my family who likes olives, so I just add my olives on as a topping at the end. And then once you get all of the cheese mixed in, you're gonna add some more cheese, probably about another cup to the top. And then if you were doing olives, you could also put some more olives on top. And then this cooks for about another 45 minutes on low. And here is what it looks like after the 45 minutes. All of the cheese is nice and melty, and this meal is just so delicious. It's been a while since I made it. And I don't know why, because we love it so much. So you can top this with some olives, as I said, some sour cream. You could do some salsa. The rest of my family just eats it as is. I like it with some sour cream and some olives, and it is just delicious. I hope that you guys will try this recipe. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you've tried any of the recipes that I've made recently, and let me know if you plan on trying any of these. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!